Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and there's a question that even I myself have been wondering for literally years. Do faster microSD cards actually make loading times any faster on the Switch? As luck would have it, that's what we intend to explore today. We have 3 cards that we're going to look at, all from reputable brands, and see how they differ in extreme scenarios. All the loading times we show will be running at double speed, including the timers, just because otherwise you might get a bit bored. But if you do want to see the unedited comparison, you can do so at the end of the video, timestamps in the description. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling, let's dive right into things. Let's start off by looking at our contenders. There's a lot of different standards and codes such as U, Class A, but we're not going to dwell on those. We just care how they perform in real life. On the high end, we have this ADATA 64GB card. With an advertised speed of 256 megabytes per second, this might be the kind of card you'd buy if you wanted to really max out performance. Yeah, in order to read this quickly, the card adheres to the UHS-2 standard, which is why it has all these extra pins. Sadly, the Switch can't use these additional contacts as it's only UHS-1 compliant. It's fully backwards compatible though, so it does work in the Switch, but only at UHS-1 speeds. I'm gonna call it ADATA. In the mid-range, we have this SanDisk Ultra 400GB card. With an advertised read speed of 120 megabytes per second and a whole mess of storage, this may well be the type of mid-range card you'd buy if you plan on downloading a lot of games. In fact, this is my card that I use in my Switch daily, and it's been a reliable and sizable workhorse. Let's call this one San-New. You'll see why in a sec. And on the low range, we have this SanDisk Ultra 32GB card. With an advertised read speed of 80 megabits per second, which we then looked further into and should actually have been 80 megabytes a second, which is far more reasonable. This is the type of card you might buy if you just need to store 1 or 2 bigger games, but you don't see yourself downloading many others. It's super cheap and quite appealing for such an eventuality, but we'll see how it holds up. We'll call this one San Old, as it's an older model. You see, San New, San Old, yeah. For our first test, let's see how long it takes each of our cards to boot Doom Eternal. The timer starts from the moment the screen turns white and will end as soon as the Press A prompt appears. As we mentioned before, all the footage is going to be at double speed, so don't worry, that's why it's going really quickly. And we don't have anything to go in the bottom right-hand corner, so please enjoy this sleeping cat. Interestingly, the 400GB SanDisk outperformed the ADATA card, and the 32GB SanDisk was hardly lagging in any significant way. There's not even a second and a half between the fastest and the slowest. Encouraging. Now let's try that again, but loading the very first level of the game on a brand new save file. And we see the same thing, ADATA losing out by just under 2 seconds to the 400GB SanDisk, and the 32GB SanDisk trailing by nearly 4 seconds behind the ADATA. There are a huge array of factors at play here, but it is just possible that because the ADATA is UHS-2 compliant, that it might not actually be optimized for UHS-1 transfers in the same way as the SanDisk. Interesting stuff. But Doom Eternal is a very well ported game. It's highly tailored to the Switch and has had a whole mess of support for it, so what about an old Game Boy game that's been remade on a budget with microtransactions? Penguin War is supposedly notorious for disproportionately long load times, so we'll see how it fares. And for little more than a bit of fun, let's introduce a 4th contender. This is an 8GB Kingston card that came with a product I got directly from China. I didn't even expect that it would come with this or anything, but here it is. I'm dubious as to whether this is even a genuine Kingston card, so this might be what you get if you bought a fake card from a seller, possibly advertising terabytes of data for a completely ridiculously low price. And if you're wondering why we didn't test this with Doom Eternal, it wouldn't fit. We'll call it knockoff. Let's see how all 4 cards fare at booting the game, plain and simple. Once again, the 400GB SanDisk has outperformed the A-Data card, although only by a second. The budget-friendly 32GB SanDisk took another 6 seconds longer than the A-Data, and the knockoff Kingston took 26 longer than even that. Mental. So what's the takeaway from all this? Well, faster cards do indeed load faster on the Switch, but it's not just as simple as that, is it? Due to a lack of UHS-2 support, UHS-2 cards are without a doubt unnecessary, and given the fact that they're very, very expensive for what they are, you really should avoid them. They're just not worth it. They may be advertising super fast speeds, but you're not going to be able to get that with your Switch. Sad, but true. A good name brand card with the capacity that you need should suit you absolutely no problem. Much older cards or cards that promise more than they can possibly give should absolutely be avoided at all costs. Go with a name you know and trust. Don't think you're being savvy by saving a few pennies by buying from a company you've never heard of. Happy loading. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you see how long it takes for that subscribe button to turn from subscribe to subscribed? And be sure to check out nintendolife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.